Is that the bandwagon? Let's jump on! Hello Champagne Dreamers, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, I don't know how you found me, but welcome. Stick around, hit that subscribe button, and join the Champagne Dreamers. My name is Jaye Champagne, and I am North Dakota's trash queen of glam, geek, and gore. And today, we are going back to the Thunderdome. I am so excited. I love a good makeup ranking, I love a good Thunderdome, and today we're going to be doing one of the newer darlings to the indie community, Bella Beaute Bar. So if you're excited to see my Bella Beaute Bar collection and how I rank them, then stick around because we're getting into it right now.
It won't go away. I've got that feeling rushing through my body. I know that it is here to stay. It's like you're my personal Illuminati. I know that some might say that I am just a bad girl, but if you treat me right, I will be the best girl in this whole world. No, I'm not gonna bite.
Yes, I'm so excited. I love these Thunderdome videos, and this is a brand that's somewhat new to me. Now, there have been a lot of brands that have kind of come up, and all of a sudden, all the little girlies in the area of YouTube that I watch will start talking about these specific brands. So I order the palette, and sometimes it's just a little bit mid. Or sometimes it's just a flash in the pan. Like sometimes a palette is being talked about by everybody and then the brand just up and disappears. So it's a great PR strategy because clearly they're sending it to the right people to get to me and to a lot of other people. But it does affect some of my trust on new indie brands popping up. Because a lot of brands, it's like, well, are they just kind of white label brands? Are they selling us just these imported palettes that aren't very interesting, that aren't really kind of specialized? And so I'm a little bit lacking in trust when it comes to new brands. And so when Bella Beaute Bar first started popping up and everybody was talking about it, I was a little hesitant. I didn't jump right in. I looked and I watched some videos, and again, everybody was talking about it, everybody was hyping it up, and I was like, I don't know, and the palette seemed kind of expensive, and so it took me a long time to really jump in. Well, when they did the Ultraviolet palette with Jandra Nicole, I was like, let's pull the trigger, let's buy that one and another palette. And the first time I used that Ultraviolet palette to make a look, I was like, oh, I get it now. I get it. Clearly this is hyped for a reason. Okay, I'm on board. I'm here for it. So I was tardy to the party, but I am so excited. I have 9 face and eye palettes in my collection from Bella Beaute Bar, and I am so excited to tell you about them and to rank them. Now, another reason why I wanted to do this, because I could have waited until I got a few more and added to my collection a little bit more, but one of the things that I like about Bella Beaute Bar is that a lot of their palettes are magnetic. So if you don't like the color story, if you don't like the arrangement, you can rearrange a palette, you can take multiple palettes and rearrange and swap the shades in and out. And so if you go to JayeSaJay.com right now and go to the beauty section, you are going to see that there's a brand new post where you can see my updated Bella Beaute Bar palettes. Because as soon as this video is done, as soon as we're done filming, I'm going to go in and I'm going to play around and I'm going to swap shades. And so there's going to be a post on JayeSaJay.com in the makeup section where you can see how I would restyle these. I wanted to make sure that I ranked them before I moved things around. Sometimes I get excited and I move things around early, so I was like, you know what, let's just do this so then we can get in and really play. So definitely check out that post if you want to see how I rearrange these palettes to make them my favorite, my idealized Bella Beaute Bar palettes. But for now, we're going to rank the palettes that I have as they arrive to me, and we are going to start with number 9. In the number 9 spot, we have the recently de-influenced. Now, I like this. I like this little influencer who's kind of a vampire with the blood. I think it's creepy and fun. It's very, like, It's very now. I love it. But let's look at the colors. Now, don't get me wrong. These colors are beautiful. And these teals and purples are colors that I definitely fuck with these colors. Absolutely. These colors up here, I'm not as much into warm tones. And part of the reason why this ended up on the bottom for me is that it feels like two palettes to me. It feels like this orange, red, yellow, and the purples kind of go into that, but then these teals come out of nowhere. Or if you're coming from this side, the purple teal kind of mix, and then you all of a sudden get this mix of warms. I don't really get it. Now, I get it because there are people who do like 2 eyeshadow looks or 2 or 3 eyeshadow looks. And so you can easily create a warm tone look, a couple warm tone looks, and a couple cool tone looks. And you can kind of mix like the green maybe with the orange. You could do that and make it very interesting. But I do very complicated eye makeup. I'm much more of a 5, 6, 7 eyeshadow look kind of girl. And so that makes it a little bit tougher for me to find multiple looks in this palette because they don't feel like they mesh. I think they are all beautiful. The quality is all stunning. And I should say that for this Thunderdome, I feel like the quality on all of these palettes is absolutely beautiful. I haven't found a dud in a single one of these palettes. So this is really just me talking about packaging, talking about color story, other choices as we go through you'll hear about, but this one ended up on the bottom just because it feels like 2 different things to me. I feel like if these had been a 9 pan and this could have been a little 6 pan, it would have been 2 perfect palettes, but putting them together, I just get a little confused. In the number 8 spot, did somebody say ice cream? The Melted Mattes palette. This is beautiful, and I do love mattes. Now, I am a shimmer girl. I have to have shimmer in every eye look, so this palette is a little challenging because it is all matte shadows. So we have these 2 rows of very neutrally shades, and then we have these pink and orange shades, and then we have a row of actual neons, which I love. So for me, this ended up towards the bottom just because I don't need more matte neutrals. I just don't. I have so many in my collection. I can understand how these are like building blocks of looks. And if you're scared about color, it can be really easy to start playing by doing a look with these neutral shades and then working in 1 or 2 of these colored shades. So I get it. Like for beginners, for other kinds of people who are doing other kinds of looks, it really makes sense. For me, I need some shimmer, and if you go check out that post on JanessaJ.com, I kind of agreed with Angelica Nyqvist from Sweden in that I needed some shimmers, and I think that this combined with another palette from that collection is actually kind of perfect. So definitely go check out what I did with this to make it more ideal for me, but for now, it has to be kind of in the bottom just because it's all mattes. It's kind of colorful, it's half colorful, but then it's half neutral. So it just isn't giving me the pow and the zhuzh that I need for my looks. In the number 7 spot, are you a good witch or a bad witch? She's a basic witch. Now this one I ordered at the same time as the Recently De-Influenced, and I do think that this color story is better. I feel like having just a couple of these tones, I can feel how to work these all together a little bit better. The one thing that brought this down as low as it was, I mean, everything, right? I love all of these palettes, so a lot of this is splitting hairs. Because I do love these colors, and pink and purple and green to me is like a signature combination of colors. But I had to put this a little bit lower just because these are not magnetic. These are not magnetic, so these are glued in. I have to keep this color story. Luckily, I like this color story. I'm excited about this color story, but because I can't move them around and swap them and change them, that pushed this a little bit. Now, it still obviously is above the Recently Influenced and the Melted Mattes because I do like this color story, and some of the shifts on this are just stupid good. I'm so excited. But it had to go a little bit further down just because when I go and I sit down and I play and I create my favorite palettes, this one has to kind of sit off to the side, and she just is what she is. And she's fabulous, but she just is what she is. In the number 6 spot, we have, is it 6? Yeah. The Molten Chromes palette. So this came out in that same collection with the Melted Mattes. This is the Molten Chromes. And these shimmers are beautiful. but there's only 6 of them. Again, it was like, how do we rank this? Because we can't have 9 palettes that are all tied for number 1. Because I do love all these palettes. And when I tell you that the quality of Bella Beaute Bar is next level, I am obsessed. I'm obsessed. But we had to put this a little bit lower just because, as gorgeous as these are, there's only 6 of them. Now this combined with that melted mattes is really a beautiful, take out half those neutrals and put in these instead. And the only one I would maybe, this one kind of doesn't, all the rest of these have some neutral element to them, or they fit with that orangey pinky kind of color story. This is the only one that I think would go into another palette. So we'll see how I end up arranging them on JanessaJ.com. But I think I'm going to put these 4 and probably this one and take out half those neutrals. And we may swap in some other shades. We'll have to see how it goes. But this one I think is going to go somewhere else because I think that would be better with some more purple, green, blue kind of colors. But I absolutely love these. I love that they kept these shimmers. They're a little bit more expensive. They're a little bit fancier, so they kind of kept them together. Kind of like Blend Bunny did with that Treasure Trove, the 4 palette of the multichromes. I thought that was really great. And so I like that they did that. They kept these separate, and I love that they are magnetic, so you can swap them in wherever you want. All right, we are heading into the top 5, and now we have one of our 2 face palettes. This is the Baked Blush Palette. I thought I was stopping, but I just can't stop, won't stop.
And we can't stop, and we won't stop.
Copyright strike. And apologies to Miley. But this is gorgeous. These blushes are silky perfection. I love these blushes. I love what they do. Now, this could have easily gone even a little bit further up in the countdown. The reason why it's down here is because I love these shades. And like this shade Strudel, this is the kind of blush that I'm living for. I went through a real like peachy phase, and now I'm in this like hot coral kind of moment, and I just love this. But all of these are very pink, berry, plum, mauve. Where's the peach? Where's the peach? I am getting out of my peach blush moment, but I think if you had taken even just one of these shades and done a peach blush, you would have given so much more variety. And peach into a hot coral blush like this, that's a beautiful blend. I love that. I love peach into this kind of more like slightly plummy nude. I love that kind of blend. Now maybe they did this because, let's cross all our fingers and our toes, maybe they're gonna do a volume 2. Maybe they'll do a blush palette that's more orangey, peachy, red kind of shades. I would love that. Bella Beaute Bar, if you ever see this, a sequel to this that's all warm, peachy. Oh, I would love it. But that's what kind of knocked this down a little bit. Now, I love most of the other shades, so this was always going to have a tough time competing with some of the eyeshadow palettes that are coming up. But I think one thing that keeps it a little bit further down is just that there's no peach. Peach blush. I love it. And in the number 4 spot, the Oracle Highlight Palette. This is absolutely gorgeous. I remember when this came out, it was right around the time that Blend Bunny's Noctilucent palette came out, and people were like, oh my god, are these the same palette? Do you need both of them? And I can tell you, these are not the same palette. The Noctilucent is still my absolute favorite highlighter palette, but this has some really, really beautiful shades. Now this one, the Noctilucent definitely has some glitter to it, but this is very glittery. It's got much more of like a glitter particle to it, and the shades are a little bit different. I love the shifts. The shifts are very different from Noctilucent, and I think that this palette is worth the price alone for this shade right here, the Moon. Oh, this shade is like, it's got this kind of beigey base, and then it's got like pink green shifts to it. Now, I never have much good luck trying to get things to show on camera, but hopefully as I'm moving, you can see a little bit of the shifts. I love this shade. The shade The Moon is worth buying that whole highlighter palette. Luckily, the other 5 shades are also really fantastic, but if I had it just for The Moon, that would be fine with me. I love this palette. I still like the Noctilucent a little bit better from Blend Bunny, but they're very different. They both do very different things, and so I think it's absolutely worth having both in your collection. Now, in the number 3 spot, we have the palette that has my favorite theme and probably my favorite packaging, but the color story, although absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, didn't quite get there for me. The Dead Roses palette. This anti-Valentine's release that they did, I thought this was fabulous. I love the idea because I was one of those little closeted gay kids, all my prom boutonnieres. Anytime I got a rose or found a rose somewhere, I was always drying it. And so the idea of like the dyed roses and the dead roses and the way you dry them and they're kind of wilted, I thought that was such a beautiful idea. And I like how they did the color story, sort of. So here is the Dead Roses color story. And I love that there's these more, this to me is very dried rose, these kind of darker purples, kind of dusty purples, this like dusty rose pink. I love that there are some flashes of green in some of these like multi-chrome, duochrome shades. You do get a bit of green, but that's my main sort of disagreement with this, is that when you dry a rose, you also have that stem. So I wanted those like dark, dusty greens, like a deep, almost evergreen, to represent the stems and the leaves and those kind of losing their life and becoming brittle and dry. I would have loved that. Definitely check out JanessaJ.com to see what I did with this, because I'm going to make my favorite Dead Roses palette. And that's really what inspired some of this video as well, that I thought was really cool, was that Bella Beaute Bar on Instagram, they told people, hey, our palettes are magnetic. Show us your version of a Dead Roses palette. Like, what would your version of Dead Roses look like? If you think that our color story isn't quite on the money, what do you think we would have done or should have done or could have done? And I thought that was really cool. And I was like, I'm going to do that. I love that their palettes are magnetic, most of them. And so I'm going to make my own. And so I'm really excited with what I've got planned for this. So definitely check out JanessaJ.com, because I love this concept. I am very anti-Valentine's. I think it's cheesy. I think it's awful. It has nothing to do with me being single and divorced and bitter. Nothing at all. But I love that, and I love this idea of dried flowers and holding on to those like memories and a lost love. I just think it's beautiful. I think the theming, the packaging, perfection. It just needs a little bump on the color story. Now we get to number 2, the Ultraviolet palette. This is a collab between Bella Beaute Bar and Deandra Nicole. And this palette is monochromatic perfection. I love this palette. I love purples, and so having a whole collection of purples, and I love that they really gave us the full range. We get these more bluish purple, blurple. I kind of hate that word, but it also kind of makes sense, because there are some things you look at and you're like, well, that's kind of purple. Well, not really. Well, it's blue. Well, not really blue. It's blurple. It just works, and I hate that it works, but I love that we get those. We get these more orchid pinky tones. Here's almost like a fuchsia. This is perfection. I want Deandra Nicole and Bella Beaute Bar to do a whole range of monochromatic palettes, because I want to see her do this well with green, with red, with blue. I would love to see that, because this is absolutely gorgeous. Now, I talked about in a previous video, I forget which one it is, but I'll link it right here for you to enjoy, where I talked about the fact that I was doing, oh, I know what it was. I was doing my, if I could only keep 10 palettes, and I said I need a palette for purples. I need some purples, and I chose a Menagerie Cosmetics, and I still love that Flight Club palette. Absolutely, I still think that's a beautiful palette, and that's the one I had chosen in that video. But the week that we filmed, this palette just arrived, and I had to put a little note into that video where I was like, okay, this one has now beaten that Flight Club palette, because that one is gorgeous, but there are some that are a little bit too neutral, a little bit too plummy, grayish kind of. This is just like unapologetically purple, but you get such a range and a diversity of purples. How could you want anything else? I love this. And number one, who is surprised? Who would have guessed? Now, I don't have every palette from Bella Beaute Bar, but I bet anybody who knows me and has been watching this channel for any amount of time has probably figured out that number one is the Secret Garden palette. Of course it is. Are you kidding me? I constantly bang the drums about how much I love green eyeshadow. Look at how beautiful this is. Look at all of these beautiful greens. And of course, there's also these gorgeous pinks. I've said over and over again how much I love green and pink together. I don't even mind some of these neutrals. I feel like if this and Dead Roses had a baby, that would be my perfect Dead Roses palette. And I think you're gonna see that we come up with something that's very blending of those two. But if I had to pick a favorite, the way that they arrived to me, it's gonna be the Secret Garden, because I love all of these greens, and the neutrals don't overwhelm me. I can think of ways to include one or two of these neutrals without feeling like I'm getting bogged down in neutrals. I can include, or I can just do greens. I've done a look with this just using the greens and a little bit of pink. I love this. So this one, absolutely, I mean, no surprise. I bet if anybody knew that I had this palette, or even just knowing the Bella Beaute Bar inventory, you were probably like, I bet that bitch has Secret Garden as number one. And of course I do. I love these shades. I love the flips and the twists, the duochromes, the multichromes in here. They are absolutely spectacular. So if I had to give a number one, again, I love all of these palettes. I think the performance is equally good on all of them. I don't have anything bad to say about the formula in any of these palettes, but if one was gonna win, it's gonna be this one. All right, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down below, how would you rank these palettes? Do you have any other palettes? Like I said, I'm kind of late. I did jump on the bandwagon as all of my favorite YouTubers were hyping up this brand, but now I can see that it's absolutely worth the hype. It's absolutely worth it, but I don't have all the palettes. There's a pastel palette I don't have. There's like a smoky glam. There's a couple others, so let me know down below. Are these the palettes that you have? Would you add any to this collection? Would you have them in any different order? Let me know your thoughts down below. While you're down there, don't forget to give me that thumbs up to let me know that you appreciate this video. Or if you are like, I am so sick of you ranking things, you're such a judgy Capricorn bitch, then you know what? Give me that thumbs down. It is all engagement. The algorithm isn't a picky bitch, and neither am I. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads. I try really hard to make sure I have at least one video a week uploaded in either glam, geek, or gore, and I try to cycle through those as much as possible. And you know what? Sometimes, if you're very lucky, you might even get a bonus video. Ooh, Thunderdome-tastic. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box below, including a link to my website where you can see my rearranged, idealized Bella Beaute Bar palettes. The world of champagne at JanessaJ.com. Thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate all of you. I hope you are ready for Thunderdomes. I don't know what order they're coming out. I don't know how many have already come out, but we are filming a whole bunch of Thunderdomes today. I love ranking videos, and I just was in a mood. I was feeling it. I was ready for it. So if you haven't already seen a bunch come out, know that there's a bunch more coming. And until I see you again, bye. Pretty girl. We'll start walking. We'll start talking about these specific brands. What's going on? I'm going to put pictures of palettes that I've bought because people talked about
reaction
them.
to
Yeah, so I'm doing like cheesy reaction things.
Oh, okay.
So it's a good PR strategy. They're clearly sending it to the right people, at least to get to me, because... Oh, hair. Okay. I have 7. Do I have 7? I have 9. This is beautiful. I forgot what I wrote about this. Sorry. Into like a hot Carl. Hot Carl. Little bump. If you'd like to chant, banter, or commiserate,
It's gonna be green.
it's gonna be green.